The Stanley Cup Final has concluded. Vegas Golden Knights champions, Florida Panthers runner-ups. Oh boy, that was a very disconcerting game. Not one that I would say maybe Florida gave their last stand on. We found out that Matthew Tkachuk was injured. He had a fractured sternum, and that he was probably playing with for, I would say, at least, a while. Maybe a couple of the series that he was a part of out of the 4. So now we're looking at this through the lens of the Florida Panthers minus Matthew Tkachuk. What really was the team that they were able to do against Vegas? Easily overlooked how Vegas has changed and built themselves over the last few years. If we're going to date back to their first Stanley Cup Championship appearance against Washington in 2018, the team was completely different. They did not have Alex Pietrangelo, Mark Stone, Jack Eichel. And their goaltending situation wasn't fantastic either. We thought that Robin Leonard was going to be the guy for them because he had a few years in Buffalo, went around Ottawa, a couple of teams, still trying to figure out who this guy is. He ended up playing really well for a little bit, but he didn't exactly stick with the team and carry them into this position. They had been around a lot of different situations with Marc-Andre Fleury not really knowing who their goalie was going to be at the start of this year. Now we see Adin Hill filling in the shoes, taking on Sergei Bobrovsky, who had been doing a spectacular job, who was most likely going to win the Conn Smythe for most of the playoffs because Florida seemed to be in increasingly rapid pace reaching the finals, taking down taking down Toronto in 5 games, and then sweeping the Hurricanes. Is that the Florida team that we saw against Vegas? I don't think so. It's not what we saw at all. So now we're left to figure out, all right, well, Vegas is clearly the juggernaut, clearly the better team. Wipes out Florida in 5. Are they going to be coming back like this next year? Absolutely. That's how it works, especially when you're a team like this against the types of teams that are also being expected to win next year. And this is almost the lens that a lot of teams are looking through. They're trying to think about next year. And they've been thinking about next year for the last few months. It's the offseason now. Here we are. Vegas, congratulations. Jonathan Marchessault, the Conn Smythe Finals MVP. For those of you who don't quite know what the Conn Smythe Trophy is, that's what happens in hockey. There's a lot of different trophies. They all have their own names, so they're all different. They're not just called after which player gets them. So, Marchessault being with the team for 6 years, 12 goals in the playoffs this year. Mark Stone also played excellent. He had kind of a last-ditch effort into going for the Conn Smythe race as well, playing fabulously, capping it off with a hat trick in that 9-3 victory. Florida, clearly, without Tkachuk, kind of like the Yankees without Judge right now. And we most certainly were expecting to see Florida, kind of fold like this. We thought maybe in the Boston series, maybe let Toronto come back, win a few games, but nothing really faltered to them. It's almost like they weren't being pressed up against a team that was just significantly better than them. And that's just a testament to the Hurricanes and the Maple Leafs. It looks really bad to the Maple Leafs now. I kind of can see how the Hurricanes had trouble with them. Boston, I think, choked significantly. Just time is going to go by. And it's just years are going to pass, and we're still not going to be able to figure out how this monumental Bruins team was able to just not figure out what they needed to in an overtime in a Game 7 against Florida. But that's just kind of looking at the whole playoff picture. We also have the NBA Finals. Denver Nuggets ignominiously taking down Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo. Wasn't much of a contest. We could almost say the same thing about this. An overwhelming defeat by Denver, taking down South Florida in a Game 5 for the home team to win the championship. Sound familiar? So Denver, after kind of just taking care of business in Games 3 and 4 in Miami, being the party pooper for all those fans down at South Beach, making it interesting, though, in those final The final minutes of games 3 and 4, I really think that Miami had a good chance, but I just don't know if they had that ability to narrow margins at the end of it. It really felt like it was falling apart. I mean, I'm not so sure that Miami had that kind of closing ability or even going on runs. Like, were they even consistently going on runs? I feel like that wasn't even really the case here. But Miami, I got to give a lot of credit to Bam Adebayo. Even Kyle Lowry and Duncan Robinson, they played pretty well. Like, they did a really good job, I think. They did what they could. Gabe Vincent he disappeared. And Caleb Martin. Those guys, they got hot at the right time for what the Miami Heat needed against the Celtics in that series to, keep them at bay, even though Celtics were just rolling back. Really not a whole lot that they could have done. Butler was average, which is good, but he needed to be better than average Butler. He needed to be great. He needed to have at least a 40-point game in the finals. Going up against Jamal Murray, he had four games out of the 5, I believe he had 10 assists. And Jokic, triple-double in his first game. He kind of turned into the scorer at the end of the series and quieted down a bit with the assists there. Obviously still earning the Bill Russell honors, doing a fantastic job along the way, being that catalyst for the team and just everything that they needed it to be. And then you got, Gordon had a nice game here. Bruce Brown played great the entire time. Porter Jr. finally comes alive in Game 5. And then Murray just kind of silently being that vindictive force in the backcourt. Quite impressive. I mean, it was truly amazing to watch. It really was. Seeing what Denver is, what they can be. Also, just a testament to the guys that have been sticking there for a while. They draft Michael Porter Jr., Murray, Jokic, these international guys that are coming in, disrupting the flow, and are making it seem as though this is what you need to do now to win a championship. We look back last year at Golden State. We look at Steph, Clay, Draymond. All these guys have been grown from the ground up, rather. Giannis, of course. The Lakers doing it with a bunch of firepower in 2020 in the bubble. Honestly, could have been anyone's year. I don't know how much kind of practice and correlation to being in kind of a foreign gymnasium contributed to the championship run that the Lakers had. But yeah, just time and time again, guys that have just not been chasing the super teams, and it's really great to see because that's how it should be. And I think that management they're going to thrive if they've got a guy that believes in the team and believes in the loyalty of sticking around for as long as they can. Not taking any shortcuts to the championship here. And that's exactly what the Nuggets had. I think Miami had that as well. They just didn't have it to the Nuggets level because they had guys that had been sticking with them for a while, like Tyler Hero. I wish he had more time, Things weren't working, all right? Spoelstra, so throw him in. I don't understand. You weren't winning. You didn't win Game 3 or 4, and Hero was eligible to come into 5. Nothing was really creating for them. We knew we weren't going to get much from Highsmith. And Kevin Love has been only able to score about 5 points every 20 minutes or so. So you can't really start him. You can't play Zeller a whole lot of minutes. Just a plethora of errors that the Nuggets basically had none in. Every problem the Heat had, the Nuggets didn't have that problem. We were looking at Christian Braun playing amazing. Bruce Brown. Even Jeff Green came in and got you timely buckets when the time called. These guys were bringing it. And I think that's just the culture of the Nuggets. That's how they were able to win the whole thing. And, exciting now. The summer starts. We got the off season. So let's bring it on.